Going to do something different this morning. Going to do something a tad bit different. So we are. So if you're game, we are going to talk about the soil, not the soul, but the soil in your life. If you're game, we're going to talk about the soil in your life. So it's Thursday. Thursday morning, Beck. If that's okay, have a terrible habit of shortening people's names. Top of the morning to you. Great to have you here. We're going to do something different. We're going to experiment. We're going to use your imagination. Too early in the morning for that, Kev. Well, so this might not be your cup of tea. So if this is not your cup of tea, no stress here. This is a place you come to shed the shame, not to come on a guilt trip. So I would love it to, hopefully you're able to see my screen on Facebook and some of the other socials. Wonderful, Rebecca, wonderful. Top of the morning to you, Jacob. We're going to check out what type of soil you have in your life. Not what type of soul, but what type of soil that you have in your life. And we're going to do that by just using your imagination. All right? We're going to use your imagination. So, first thing I want to do, though, is I want to read to you this concept about being a beginner. All right, you don't want to be beginners. Like, I'm not a beginner. Oh, I'm at least an intermediate. Actually, I'm an advanced, whatever. Fill in the blank, right? Tennis player. I'm an advanced. I'm a master's level coach or counselor, or you could name it. Like, few of us really want to be beginners. And so I just want to read to you this short little clip about beginners all. All right, let me do that. This clip called Beginners All says, in the spiritual life, there are no tricks or shortcuts. One can't begin to face the real difficulties of following Jesus unless one is perfectly content to be a beginner and really experience oneself as one who knows little or nothing and has a desperate need to learn the bare rudiments. Those who think they know from the beginning never, in fact, come to know anything. We do not want to be beginners, but let us be convinced of the fact that we will never be anything else but beginners all our lives. A few verses: James 4:6, Proverbs 1:5, 9:9, Romans 15:4. When you are committed to being a beginner, you're open to receive. You're not closed. You're not shut down. You're open. And so I just want to encourage you with that. I want to encourage you with that thought. And want to say, welcome to being a beginner. Welcome to being a beginner. But let me just dive in, right? This kind of imagination track that we're going to go down for a few minutes, right? In Europe, it's 5 hours ahead. You should be well awake at this stage, right? We're familiar. We've heard the story of the sower and the seed, and he throws the seed on different types of ground, different types of soil. And what I'm asking you this morning is, as we enter this story together, I want to ask you, what type of soil is in your life? All right. So we're doing an experiment. We're going to try this. We're going to try to stretch our imagination. We're trying to answer the question: if I'm a sower, good morning, sis. Great to have you. we're going to try to answer the question, what's the soil like in my life? There's thousands of seeds of God's love coming our way every day. I really believe that. Yes, he's demonstrated this love once and for all on the cross when he paid the ultimate sacrifice for you and for me. But he's sending seeds of love every day in our lives. A lot of the times we don't see them, we're not aware of them. Sometimes we're not looking for them. And so I want us to just to loosen our normal interpretation of this passage and just use your imagination with me, and we're going to jump in to Matthew 13 and to right in the beginning, right? It was a day where Jesus leaves the house and he's sitting by the sea, and then a large crowd comes and gathers around him, and so he gets into a boat and he sits down, and then the whole crowd is standing on the beach, right? And so first step, and I think I can share my screen at least on the old Facebook. First step in the imagination station, right, is I want you to imagine yourself on the beach. Jesus is out in a boat, big crowd gathering around. I want you to imagine yourself on the beach in the midst of this crowd, seeing Jesus in the boat. I want to ask you, what are you aware of that's around you or even within you? Which of your senses are most engaged? And yes, I want you to let me know in the chat. All right? So the first question is, place self in the setting. And the setting is, you're on the beach, Jesus in the boat, he's looking back to the beach, you're part of the crowd. What are you sensing? Which of your senses is most engaged? Senses. You're in the middle of a crowd. And Jesus is either talking or he's just about to get ready to talk. There's kind of a rumble going on around him. All right, so that's my question for you. Okay? And then it says, and he spoke many things to them in parables in verse number 3. He says, look, there's a sower, and he went out to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell on the wayside or on the path. And the fowls or the birds came and they ate them all up. So, Jesus is talking. Some of the seeds, telling you about a sower, some of the seeds have fallen not in the field, but like on the path or on just, outside of the field. Birds come, eat them up, right? So I want you to imagine yourself as the path. Imagine yourself as the path. What's it like to see yourself as a path, stepped on by a lot of feet over a long time? How compact is the soil in your life? I want you to see the seeds scattered all over you. Do they interest you? Do you want those seeds to kind of to sink in? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings as the birds come and take the seed away? What do you imagine the sower thinks or feels while he's watching this happen? I mean, his purpose really is to sow the seed, and the seed would take root, and that a harvest, if you like, would come. What part of your life is like the path? Maybe preventing the seeds of God's love from kind of sinking in to the core of who you are. We're doing an experiment. We're trying to use our imaginations. Some of us are brilliant at this. Some of us haven't used our imaginations in a long time. Imagine yourself, number 2, imagine yourself as, and I'm going to show you this, imagine yourself as the path. What's it like? Being like a path when the seeds can't enter you, can't sink in, can't receive them. What's it like is the question. Is it frustrating? Are you wanting the seeds of God's love to sink in? I mean, there have been people in our lives that, have told us, I love you. I really, really care about you. And at times we're just numb. We're numb to it. And sometimes it's nothing to do with them, gang. Sometimes it's nothing to do. Yeah, man. Sometimes we're closed. Yeah, we've been hurt by too many other people, right? It's not that this person in front of us has done anything. Sometimes our hearts are hard, and it's not because we're cold and callous and uncaring, but they're hard because we felt like we have to harden them to protect ourselves, to survive. Ready for the third? You may have to go over this again, so I'm just going to give you this, and we're going to go through it kind of at a decent clip because with social media and people are like impatient on social media. So I want to encourage you to go back over this. All right. So number 3, verse number 5, verse number 6 says, some seeds fell in the stony places where there wasn't much soil, and they sprung up because they had no depthness of soil or of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched because they had no root and they withered away. So here's the question. Imagine yourself as the stony or the rocky ground. Let me pop this up on the screen. Imagine yourself as the stony or the rocky ground without much soil. Can you feel the rocks inside? How deep or close are they to the surface in your life? Notice the seeds springing up kind of quickly. Watch the new growth. Watch the new growth withering in the sun's heat. And then let me ask you, what is it? What is it that's having difficulty getting deeply rooted in your life? What is it that's having difficulty getting deeply rooted in your life? What are the rocks or the soil in the soil of your life? What are the rocks in your life that may need to be uprooted? What are the rocks in your life? So we're doing a bit of an experiment this morning. We've landed in Matthew chapter 13, and we are trying to, best we can, first thing in the morning, to use our imagination. 3 questions so far. Put yourself on the seashore when Jesus is telling this parable. Imagine yourself being there. Smell. What do you smell? Is the wind blowing? Is it not? Can you hear the waves, or at least the lake lapping up on the shore? Or can you not hear that over the rumble of the voices? Jesus talks about a farmer sowing seeds, and he said some fall on the path, on the wayside. So the question is, if your life was that path, what's that like? What's that like, not being able to receive the seeds of God's love into your life? What's that like for you, is the question. The next question is, what is it like, or what would it be like if your life was like the the rocky ground? The rocky ground. And that there's rocks kind of hindering depth, hindering truth kind of sinking deep into you. What are those rocks? That's my question for you. What might those rocks be in people's lives? So this is not necessarily a personal confession, at least publicly on Facebook or Instagram or wherever else we are. It's really important, gang. Really important that we take just a little bit of time to just say, hey, what's the soil of my life like? All right, Nathan, good to see you, kid. What's the soil of my life like? Is it, am I like the path that's that's been walked on by a lot of people, and it's kind of hardened, and it's difficult for the seeds to sink in? Or is my life full of rocks? What are those rocks? What might need to be discarded, and some topsoil at least kind of put on the on in my life, so that I can receive love, so that I can receive attention, so that I can receive affirmation, so that I can receive. I mean, what? I don't know what God's looking to send your way right now. Some of you are saying, I need rest, man. I relate to the rocks. I relate to having experienced so many beautiful things, and yet for some reason it doesn't stick for me. It doesn't last for me. And I've been frustrated by it for a long time, and I don't get it really, fully. I just want to plant these seeds in your life this morning, and I want to encourage you to continue to just let God bring clarity, as the day goes on. Let me go to number 4, all right? Verse 7 says, look, some seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. Holy cow. Imagine yourself as the thorny ground, right? So imagine yourself as the thorny ground. And so as the thorny ground, what are thorny plants like? You feel the prickles? What are the thorns in your life maybe protecting you from? What would you name the thorns possibly in your life? What does it feel like to be that kind of ground that has thorns? Sometimes I've been accused of being a little prickly. What are they in your life? Thorns are hard to wrap your arms around, your hands around. So, what might the thorns be in your life is the question. We've landed on Matthew chapter 13. We're really just trying an experiment this morning. We're trying to use our imaginations. We're kind of walking through this passage, and we're asking a few questions of ourselves just to say what type of soil do we have? Yeah, what's it like being a path, if that fits for you, like and feeling there's a hardness there, from the seeds of love or life, or goodness kind of sinking in. What's causing you to be hard? Is it that people have walked all over you for a long time and you've kind of let that happen? I don't know. It might be you've let it happen. It might be it was forced on you. I don't know. What's it like maybe being the stony, the rocky ground? What are the rocks? Name them. It's important to name them, gang. It's important to name what the rocks might be that are hindering you from receiving all that God has for you. And third, what might it be like being the thorny ground? What might it be like being the thorny ground? And what might be some of the thorns in your life? And it could be a lot of things. Thanks, Jacob, for saying, look, for me, I'll be honest, it's alcohol. For others, it's food. For others, it's pride. For others, it's work. For others, it's just money. There's nothing wrong with money. Can we just say that, right? It's the love of money. It's the elevation of money above all else, right? So that's a thorn maybe, or it's a rock maybe in their life, and they need to adjust their priorities, right? I don't know what it might be for you. For me, at the time, it was a person, right? Another created being that I needed to surrender. And then needed to see that life and love and leadership and fulfillment and wholeness comes directly from our Maker, not from any person or place or possession or power or prestige. I can't think of any more P's. it's so important that we just pause, right? Socrates said an unexamined life is a life not worth living. I don't want us to live a life not worth living, gang. But hey, the next type of soil is in verse 8, some soil fell into good ground and brought forth fruit, it says. Some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Now I want you to imagine your life as good soil. What's it like? Good soil. What's it like having good soil in your life? It's healthy. You can smell it. Can you smell it? Can you smell what good soil, fresh soil, turned over soil, tilled soil? My father grew up in Monaghan, 2 miles from the northern border in the south of Ireland, but just right close to Northern Ireland. And anytime we would go to Monaghan, to where he grew up, you could smell before you could get there. My father would always say, Kevin, it's good for your nostrils, son. It's good for your nostrils. Take a good breath in. Oh, I hated that smell. I've grown up a little since then. I kind of have an appreciation that some things that may be good for you might smell terrible. But truth, it was mixed with a bit of manure and probably something else. Fresh soil smells good. What makes soil healthy? Any ideas? What makes the soil of our lives healthy? Let me know if you have a thought. Please. What makes the soil good? What makes it healthy? See the richness in your mind's eye. Feel the texture. Smell its freshness. Welcome, Pete. We've been doing an experiment this morning. We kind of landed in a passage, Matthew 13. It's a story of Jesus kind of being in a boat, out on a lake, and he's telling the story of a farmer sowing some seed, and he's asking, well, he's telling the story of the farmer, spreading the seed, and I'm just wanting to change, just to help us use our noggins, our imagination for a few, just to ask the question, hey, what might it be like to imagine yourself as these different types of soils? And we've said, well, the first type was like the path, and the path is hard. It's, we've talked about the seeds of love, from our Maker coming into our lives every day, but sometimes we're like a path. We're hard, and it's hard to receive because of some of the stuff that's happened maybe in our stories, or because of the filter that we have, and we see people through. Like, everybody's got an agenda. Everybody's out for me. Like, watch your back. Don't trust anybody. I mean, these are the beliefs, these are the perspectives, like, that we carry, right, in doing everyday life. That we don't broadcast that, but we live like this. And so what's that like? What's it like to have other people say, hey, I want to be in your life. I want you to trust me. I want to be your friend, whatever. And sometimes, like, we hold people like at arm's length. If not the path for you, if that's not relatable, what about the stony ground, the rocky ground? Rocks stop the seeds from really getting deep into the soil and having good roots, right? What might be the rocks in your life? What might be in the way from you receiving seeds of goodness, of wholeness, of fulfillment, of peace, of satisfaction, right? Of purpose? What might be the rocks that are in the way for you in your story? Name them. It's really important for us to name them, gang. And right now, what might be the thorns, right? It's a different type of soil. What might be the thorns in your life that are prickly, and protective for sure, right? What might they be, and that choke again the goodness of the seeds that have a harvest, have fruit for you, right? I know I'm asking you to go to where we don't normally ask these questions, but it's really good to pause. It's really good to ask these questions. Socrates earlier we said a life that's not evaluated is a life not worth living. And so we have a choice. Do you want to live like unaware and clueless, kind of stumbling into one day or to the next, or do you want to live with purpose? Do you want to live with the right perspective? Do you want to live heading in the direction that's going to end you up in the destination that is yes for you? You know, like it's like yes. You know when you I don't know. Like sometimes it's a meal and and the food is like so good. It's like, oh, it's so good. You know. Sometimes it's an experience. And it's like, oh, can we just freeze frame this moment? Can we just like could we just I think could we just take a pic and just freeze frame? Like I've been told too many times in my life. I wish I had a camera right now and take a picture of your mug. I wish I had a mirror and look at your face. I'm not talking about those times. I'm talking about the times where you just look and you're gazing across, and maybe it's the one that you love, and you can see the wind blowing and their hair is blowing, and you know, or you get a waft of their perfume or their aftershave, and it's like. I was like, oh, so good, and it's just in that moment you just want to grab it, you know, and you hold on. Hardness stops you from having more of those moments. Not tilling the soil of our lives stops us from receiving the beauty of those magical moments, I call them. Rocks in the soil of our lives that need to be uprooted. We've kind of gotten out of there. Like my father-in-law, the other day we were up. It was Mother's Day, and so we dropped off a gift or whatever, and so we so he says to me, "I have a sinkhole out my backyard." Sinkhole? Yeah, sinkhole. How'd you have a sinkhole? The blasted builders chucked a lot of rocks and muck and junk and rubbish into the back left corner, and after a while the soil on the top kind of settles, and it just fell in. It just fell in. It just fell in. Sometimes in our lives, like we reap what we sow, gang. We reap what we sow. It's just a fact of life. What are you sowing? What are you sowing? If you sow in independence, in self-dependence, in self-sufficiency alone, you are building a house of cards that is just waiting for one good push to come and collapse happens. My maker says, look, if we're free to choose to do life that way, but he says, look, unless I build your house, kid, you're laboring in vain. Let me help you build it. Talked to a fellow the other day, and he said for the longest time, man, I tried to do the best I could to try to make it all work. My career, my marriage, my family. And he said, man, I just kind of gave up in the parenting department, he said, and I just became passive. And that didn't work, he said, and I tried to please everybody in the career kind of path, and that definitely didn't work. I was absolutely just wrung out, he said. And he said, in my relationship, I just got hard. I got numb. I became apathetic and uncaring, and I derailed the whole thing. It wasn't my plan, wasn't my intention. I tried to do the best I could with what I had to try to make it all work, he said. It didn't work, man. But now that I'm letting my maker in, like now that I'm done faking it, I'm done with the masks. Can I just say to you that if you are living life behind a mask, then you can't receive love. Only the mask gets loved. You don't get loved. I want you to get loved. fully, fully, deeply. And I want you to be able to love fully and deeply, wholly. Because when it's all said and done, gang, at the core of all of this is, I mean, Jesus even said it, look, it's loving your maker and it's loving your neighbor, your loved ones, your family. That's the most important thing. Love's the most important thing. That was a little rabbit trail there, but I think it was a good one. I'm going to go with it. It was a good one. Alita, good morning. Great to see you. And I'm sure there are a few others. And I will say hello in just a second. I want to wrap this up though, okay? What's it like to be good soil? Imagine yourself as the good soil. Healthy, fresh, like ready to receive. How does it feel to be good soil? Seeds of love falling into you. What happens to them, you know? What happens to them? In some respects, the seed, it's got to die. It's got to be broken so that life can come forth in it. So many of us refuse to be broken so that greater life can come from us. We're terrified. We have a phrase that we use, beautifully broken. You know some people who are broken, they're not beautiful, they're bitter. And the difference between experiencing brokenness that leads to beauty or brokenness that leads to bitterness is whether you choose to surrender or you choose to release, you choose to forgive. Forgiveness is God's gift to you, for you, first and foremost. Primarily, it's for you. Jesus, when he hung on that cross and said, Father, forgive them, they haven't a continental clue what they're doing to me. That's the Irish version. Maybe that's just Kevin's version. They are clueless. I want to batter them. But, God, would you just forgive them? Forgive them. I don't want to take this junk to heaven with me. Jesus modeled forgiveness is for you first. They weren't asking for his forgiveness. It's his gift to you, man. There's so much power. We'll talk about forgiveness another day. Imagine the sower's pleasure and satisfaction seeing a harvest coming. Fresh, open, ready to grow. I mean, there's more thoughts right there. And then as he wraps up, it just says, like, whoever has ears to hear, let him hear. Let him hear. Take a few minutes and just absorb it, the images and the connections that have kind of resonated with you in this story. And I'll leave you with four questions. All right, and here are your questions. All right, where? 4 Q's. Where do I need God's plowing grace? Where do I need God's plowing grace to loosen the hardened soil of my life? To loosen the hardened soil of my life. That's number 1. Question number 2, where do I need God's clearing grace to remove the obstacles? Where do I need his clearing grace to remove obstacles? I see a Larry. Where do I need God's clearing grace to remove the obstacles in my life? And number 3, where do I need God's uprooting grace to pull out the thorns in my life. And four, where do I need his confirming grace to enrich and safeguard the soil in my life? Four questions. Hey, if you're popping into this at the end, hey Ash, so good to have you too, sis. If you're popping into this at the end on Facebook on Kevin Daly Live Love Lead, I have shared just a white screen whiteboard and written in the questions and for you to kind of, it's kind of like a, dare I say, a devotional, but it's a reflective exercise. It's a contemplative exercise. You have a maker who is sending seeds of love into your life every single day. I don't want you to miss them. I simply don't want you to miss them. And in order for us not to miss them, in order for us to really receive them, for them to take root and have the effect that he, out of love, is sending them to receive, what needs to happen is that I need to be reflective. I need to pause for a second and just ask the question, like, what's going on underneath the surface? Like, what what needs to be tilled to loosen up the hardness, in me, like sometimes Dad has told me, dude, there's just no point in talking to you right now. You're not open. You're like a brick. Can you imagine that? Your Irish brother like a brick? There are times when we're open, there are times when we're not open. What area of you right now may need to be tilled? Or it's maybe not that. Maybe you're not hard right now. You're like, I'm raring to go, ready. Maybe it's that they're just, look, there's some things. You're so welcome, Rebecca. There's some things that I just need to remove. I need to process. I need to get out of the way. There's some thorns that are prickly. I'm prickly in these areas, in these departments, and I need to invite Jesus to get those thorns out of there. I don't know what it is for you, but I want to say this. In 30 minutes, you will have taken time to do an exercise that is worth 30 hours in 30 minutes. And we took a few detours along the way. Hey, will you do me a favor? Will you just write, what's a nugget that resonated with you? What's something that you can take away? Just write it in the comments. Here's something that resonated with me. Jacob, I see that like it's really important to surround ourselves with good people. Yeah, yes, it is. What did my granny Kelly used to say? Bad company corrupts good morals, Kevin. It's true. The girl was quoting the scriptures. And yes, we have a beautiful team. Dude, I want to get there. I want to answer these questions. I have no idea. And sometimes you need somebody else to kind of walk with you. And we have a large team. Some people can do that on their own and just take it and run with it. Sometimes we need somebody else. Sometimes we need somebody else to poke or maybe just make some observations. Because it's so much easier for people on the outside to kind of see, And you want to walk with someone, a friend, a mentor, a coach who'll get you further faster, a counselor who'll help you get rid of some of them rocks and uproot the roots, right? And we got a beautiful team, 15 of them or so, and would love to be a support to you and to yours. Yeah. And with that, if this has resonated to you or with you, right? So yes, reflection, love it. And okay, at the first step is awareness about where I am, like what type of soil in my life is there, right? That's the beginning. It's beautiful. It's like if you're not aware of like where you are, you can't know like again the direction that you need to head in because you don't even know where you are. So knowing where you are is the beginning, and then making a choice like, do you want to move? And you don't have to move. You don't have to move. Can I just tell you what most of the time happens in most people's lives to help them kind of get motivated to move? Pain, or just being sick and tired of being sick and tired and stuck in the same place. Like this is it. This is it. This all I've done, all I've given, all I've invested, all the blood, sweat, and tears, and this is where I am? No. Pain's a powerful motivator. Not the only motivator. Sometimes there are positive pullers, and sometimes there are negative kind of pullers, motivators, right? Sometimes it's the stick, and sometimes it's the carrot. Can I confess to you something? Um, I'm a little older maybe than some of you. um, I went through a season where I was like I was harder. It was harder. I was harder with my kids. It was harsher with my wife. I don't think the public would have known really. I'm generally known to be happy-go-lucky, kind of sort of. I'm a hard worker. We get on all right if we're in close proximity. I love people. I love helping them get free. Sometimes people who help others get free, sometimes need to hand themselves. What I'm confessing to you is that I had to come to a place where I was answering this question, and it's a question that our big brother asked us, and what he said is, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" And what I was seeing, I wasn't liking. I was noticing there was a drift in my relationship with my kids. I was noticing like if something doesn't change with my bride, we're not heading in a good direction. Like seriously, we're not heading in a good direction. And I didn't know the answer. For the longest time, I tried to fix it myself because I'm the oldest. I'm the firstborn of six kids, and genuinely, we're firstborns tend to be hard chargers and just plow on. We'll figure it out. We'll sort it out. And then when you're a coach and a counselor and for a profession, Lord have mercy, I think our skulls are just a little thicker. God needed a little bit thicker 2x4, if you know what I mean, up outside my head. If you don't like where you are, you can change. Love the relationship I have with my kids right now. Love it. All of them, all four of them. Love it. I didn't get here overnight. I'm still aware I have to continue to invest in that and in them. I love where I am with my bride. I'm still working on it. Did you hear what I said about the thickness of my skull? There are beautiful things for you. Our big brother came to give us life in abundance, man. Abundance. Like better, whole, richer, fuller, freer. Don't settle for mediocrity. Don't settle for the status quo when your father has so much more for you. And hey, you don't even have to believe that right now. It's okay. I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad you're just allowing your Irish brother, your Irish uncle, your Irish nephew, depending on our ages, whatever, just to speak into your story and say, I am rooting for you. I have a team behind me that supports me to do so much more than I could ever do on my own. You've not been called to do this alone. So if we can help, we're here. You on Facebook and those platforms, there's 800 910 5060 is the 800 number. 678 608 2111 is the text number. You can also call that number. Info Broken Chains, intl.com. We want to break the chains or help you experience broken chains in your life so you can live free and love well and be the best version of you that you've been made and created to be. And that your opponent stops scoring goals against you. That you can experience the truth of you being the victor that you are, not the victim that you're being tempted to believe. So, I have a lad coming in today for a whole day intensive. I really appreciate your prayers for him. If this made any sense to you whatsoever, please sprinkle this amongst your community. The social media peeps don't like us asking people to share this. So just, hey, risk it. Risk sharing this. I always said it. Risk sprinkling this. Will you? And let's help encourage some other people. And they won't all be open or ready or just, hey, sprinkle the love. And let's have a great rest of this week. I'll see you in the morning for your check-in at 7 with Kevin, and Eastern time, 12, probably Europe-ish, 12, 1 over there. So thanks for sharing this time. I don't take it lightly. I really, really appreciate your trust. And we're going to keep experimenting and trying some different things. And so, again, if you haven't joined our free group, Live, Love, Lead with Kevin Daly, search Facebook for it and you'll find it. Jump in there and you'll get inspirational thoughts throughout your day. Keep your head focused, centered, knowing, experiencing truth, and let the truth set you free. In Jesus' name. All right? And I'm telling you, your life will be fuller, your life will be richer, your life will be wholer, your life will be what it's been intended to be, even in a broken planet in the midst of a pandemic. Have a great rest of your day and reach out if we could be a support or help to you. All right. Till the morning. May you feel his favor today. May you know his peace. And may you live free and love well.